The Walking Dead gave us some alone time with Rick and Michonne, and we couldn't have been more happy about it. I'm Terri Schwartz. This is Jim Vejvoda. We are going to go into full spoilers about The Walking Dead's latest episode, Say Yes. So get out of here if you haven't seen it yet. I should say there was an interesting ending in this episode that we aren't going to touch on here, where we see Rosita and Sasha head out, supposedly go to kill Negan. Make sure to stay tuned to IGN because we do have an interesting theory video coming later this week. But first, we want to talk about the Rick and Michonne of it all, because I've never been so happy to see two characters have some like hanky-panky over and over again, a whole episode. I thought this was a really fun little diversion for a season that's sort of all been diversions.
I thought it was actually a much needed kind of jolt of levity, one. Two, it was nice to actually just spend time with the two characters you probably care about the most in the show. I like that they basically Rick just didn't want to cut the honeymoon short. You know? And then just the setup of it itself, the whole amusement park setting, that was nice. That was kind of a fun, different thing. You can mention in a minute the Easter egg that Greg Nicotero.
I mean, we can even say it right now. He snuck in a creep show reference in that little ticket booth scenario. That's the saddest walker. You need a point to stop and bring that up to me.
Geez, your whole life is spent working in that booth, and then you got to spend eternity in there too. But I had heard that there was a creep show reference beforehand, and I was thinking, oh, please let somebody be dancing like Ed Harris was in that awful moment.
But I don't even know if levity is necessarily the word I would use. It was a very sweet episode, and
it was a human episode. I liked it.
Yeah, and Rick and Michonne are two characters we've been following from the beginning or close to the beginning in Michonne's case, and we've seen them go through so many ups and downs, and there's so many characters on this show now that we don't often get a full episode to dedicate and just sort of spend time with characters that we care a lot about, and they've done that a lot more this season. Like we had the Daryl episode, we just had the Eugene episode last week.
The Tara episode.
But for these two in particular, I felt that this really worked, and even though the theme was sort of Rick figuring out what comes next, and I think the show had a sort of a self-aware moment when he's talking about, oh, well, we'll find a new place and then we'll continue on, and that's sort of been the commentary of the fans.
Wink formula.
Right, yeah, the show keeps going through these beats. I did think they were able to come back to that in an interesting way towards the end of the episode when he's finally yeah, okay, we fight. But even beyond that, I just really enjoyed spending time with these two characters.
I thought of the episodes this season where we did have that sort of alone time episode. I thought this was the strongest one because it also advanced the plot of they found a giant cache of weapons. They found a lot of food. They found their safety net in their big fight against.
The joy in finding all these things too was just so great.
And then going back to the garbage people and their weird Star Trek planet kind of thing that they have going on there, and he has to strike yet another deal. But it did feel like it advanced the main plot line that they're getting to in the latter half of this season. And it also kind of reminded us of why we like these two particular characters and why we like them together.
I agree with that. And I do think, I've sort of resigned myself to the slower pace of this season. We're just going to take it a character at a time, move the plot forward incrementally. But this does sort of remind me that the show is better when it has a smaller cast of characters. We've had a huge ensemble for seasons. It reminds me back to the prison when everyone was sick. There were so many people there, obviously with Alexandria, and they're adding all these new characters, a big cast of characters. It's one or the other, right? You either don't get a lot of personal time with these characters, or you're stuck with small groupings of one or two characters each episode. I'm not a showrunner. I can't find the perfect balance. I thought this really worked. That being said, I am excited to get back to the action next week, and you can bet we will be here. We're getting close to the end of this season. So for all things The Walking Dead, keep it here at IGN.